Hey, everybody, and welcome into a new Eye on the Tigers video edition. I'm Ben Frederickson alongside Dave Matter, here to break down Mizzou's bowl opponent, Army, in the Armed Forces Bowl. An overlap there with the bragging rights game. We'll get into that. This discussion sponsored by Closets by Design of St. Louis. For a limited time, you get 40% off any order of $1,000 or more, or 30% off any order of $700 or more. On top of that, get additional 15% off any complete system order. And remember, you get free installation for any complete order of $500 or more. Call 1-800-BY-DESIGN to order today. Dave, the Tigers have ordered up the Armed Forces Bowl against Army, and this is a matchup that is intriguing on two levels. A, how did the Tigers get scheduled a bowl appearance on the same night as bragging rights game in St. Louis, one of the bigger basketball events of the year, albeit maybe a dull one this year because of the way the basketball team has performed. But also B, this is a matchup that could give Mizzou problems. It's going to be a Super Bowl type game for Army, which has one of the most prolific and determined running attacks in America. What do you make of this, how this happened, and also this matchup for the Tigers and Eli Drinkwitz as they try to win a bowl game?
Well, how it happened is basically a numbers game. There were 13 bowl-eligible teams in the SEC, only 12 guaranteed spots for them. That's even with two SEC teams making the playoff and one more in another New Year's Six bowl. They just ran out of room, and it came down to there were 5 6-6 teams in the SEC and only 4 bowls for them. So somebody had to be left out. That ended up being Missouri. The other 6-6 teams are all playing bowl games that the location is a little bit more convenient for them and their fans, where it makes sense. Liberty Bowl was Missouri's first choice. That's what they really wanted. That would have made sense geographically, but Mississippi State had more wins than Missouri. They were the choice there, and also the narrative choice because Mike Leach is playing against Texas Tech, his former team. So the Liberty Bowl, the SEC, the networks, they couldn't pass up that matchup. So Missouri's the odd team out. They really have no say in where they play then. It was up to the conference, which is partnered with ESPN. ESPN owns 17 bowl games, I believe, through their company ESPN Events, including the Armed Forces Bowl. So they make the call. And as Desiree Reed-Francois told us earlier in the week, they went to the SEC and said, hey, we've got this pretty big basketball game on the 22nd. That date doesn't really work for us. And the league basically said, tough, you're going to play this bowl game on this day, and it doesn't really matter. If anything, I think it kind of shows where Missouri's standing is in the SEC as far as its clout or lack thereof. I think it's a statement on kind of where the basketball season is and what that game means as far as the networks go. So Missouri didn't have any wiggle room here. This was and also when you go 6-6, you don't have a lot of room to complain. They're 7-5. They're not in this situation. Instead, they're playing a really tough Army team that's 8-3, has a chance to be 9-3 if they beat Navy this weekend. Number 2 rushing team in the country. Number 1 in time of possession. They possess the ball almost 37 minutes a game, which means you're getting it about 23 minutes a game. Their defensive numbers are okay because their defense isn't on the field very much. And if you look back, when they play Power 5 teams over the last few years, they've lost 6 in a row, but 4 of them are by single digits. And we're talking about losses to Wisconsin, West Virginia, Michigan. They took to the brink a few years ago. Oklahoma, they lost by a touchdown and almost won that game. They're really tough and competitive because their style is so tough to prepare for.
And they're playing on a hot streak here, headed into this, what is going to be a massive game for them, of course, the annual Army-Navy game. If they win that game, they will have a chance to be a 10-win football team under Coach Monken. And this is an interesting parallel here. Coach Monken was mentioned as a candidate for the Tigers before the curators kind of muscled in and changed that search toward targeting Eli Drinkwitz. Jim Sturk, the AD who led that search, is now no longer at Mizzou. So I bet Jeff Monken remembers that. And that will be a little compelling storyline here. That triple option offense, you mentioned, Dave, 43 rushing touchdowns this season. I think they've had the fewest pass attempts in the nation, and they're averaging rolling up more than 300 yards per game on offense in terms of rushing yards against a Missouri defense that's biggest bugaboo this year has been its inability to stop the run. We've seen that improve late in the year, but this is going to be a pretty big test, Dave, because that triple option takes advantage of course, the running game, but also a lack of discipline and attention to detail. If you're trying to stop the triple option, you've got to be detail oriented. Everybody has to do their job you have to really take advantage of these bowl practices in focusing on an offense you don't see very much. If Missouri is disinterested, if the Tigers defense has a lot of players who don't go to the bowl game for opt-out reasons, Army doesn't have guys who opt out, Dave. They're going to be there and they're going to have their best offense ready to roll and run.
Yeah, they're opting in for football, and then they're opting in for a lot more after their football careers. Right. That's for sure. Army, in their 8 wins this year, they've only thrown the ball 51 times. That's crazy. That's like a game for some teams. So the challenge is, and Blaze Aldridge, Missouri's linebacker, who played against Army a couple of years ago when he was at Rice, he had a great point. The worst thing you can do on defense, besides miss tackles, is get bored, because you're going to get a lot of 3-yard fullback dives. And if you just kind of let up on those and you get a little bored and it gets monotonous, all of a sudden you look up and Army's had the ball for 10 minutes. And they're fine winning 14-3 or 14-7 because they limit your possessions. Missouri dealt with this, 12 years ago when they played Navy in the Texas Bowl. They had that explosive Blaine Gabbert, Denario Alexander offense. They never could get back on the field. So this is a real challenge. I think if you're Eli Drinkwitz, you give him some truth serum. He does not like this matchup at all. One, there's not a lot of upside in beating a non-Power 5 team. And it's just a really, really tough matchup. You're right now, Missouri staff, they're preoccupied with recruiting. There's so much going on. They've got a staff position to fill now with Casey Woods leaving. So there's only so much time in the day to prepare for the kind of offense you've never seen before.
It's a chance for Mizzou to secure a winning season, but a non-ideal matchup and a tough opponent here that can't be overlooked. And if it is, then the Tigers will be in trouble. And one quick note, Dave, before we go, let's just inject some truth serum into this conversation. If you don't want this assignment, don't go 6-6, but it's not just on the team too. Missouri in part got this bowl game because its fans don't travel to games traditionally and will not sell as many tickets as a fan base like LSU or Florida, even though they've had disappointing seasons. So if you want that to change, those are the things that have to change. The team has to play better, and there has to be more support compared to SEC programs that Missouri is going up against for these bowl matchups. We'll see if the Tigers can make good out of a non-ideal situation. We'll have it all covered, the lead up to the bowl games, and of course the bragging rights game as well at stltoday.com. For Dave, I'm Ben. We'll talk to you next time.